Hi, so first of all, thank you so much. Yes, I'm bipolar. I was diagnosed back in 1998 when I was only 8 years old, which is crazy to think about. I definitely like sharing my story because I feel like it is a very positive one. I feel like when people see me on here, it's hard to even imagine where I was once upon a time. I've been on lithium treatment for years and stable, and I have a fantastic support system, but it wasn't always a very stable and healthy road. So if my story can inspire others, then that is awesome. So initially, I was diagnosed with bipolar as a kid because I just did not sleep. I mean, I obviously had behavioral issues and other symptoms, but primarily it was because I just never slept. So, of course, after my diagnosis, I was finally put on medication and I was able to sleep a little bit more. But then when I turned 18, as a lot of you know, like I show how, I had a lot of identity stuff going on. I've looked like a lot of different people. I mean, now that I'm older, and I've been through a lot more and I've been transitioning for so long, I understand that I did that because I'm trans and I understand the reasons behind it. But back then, I mean, this was almost 20 years ago. People did not really talk a lot about transgender stuff. It wasn't really discussed. So they saw me looking like a different person all the time and they figured, oh, you have borderline. And I was like, hell yeah, because that meant I could go off all medication, which was not good. Not a good idea. I also should add, I have bipolar 1. It's a little different than bipolar 2. I very rarely experience depression. I do once in a while, but mainly I've dealt with mania in my life, and there have been times where it's been like pretty severe. So once I went off all my medication, of course I wasn't sleeping again, and I wasn't doing well in general. So I started self-medicating to sleep. I found that as the best way to immediately at least get a few hours of sleep. Obviously it wasn't healthy, but it worked. But then I got pregnant, so I couldn't self-medicate anymore. So then I obviously wasn't sleeping again. I mean, obviously my moods were very, very unstable, and I was also in a very toxic relationship at the time. And to be completely transparent, what ended up happening is that when I had one of my episodes and I was like out of control, I accidentally butt dialed one of my family members, and so they had to have a serious talk with me, like, it's time to get back on medication. You need it. They like kind of had a little intervention for me, like, we're going to your OB and you're getting on medication. I refused. I went to the doctors. They like told me what they wanted to put me on. I absolutely refused. I wouldn't do it. And I am a huge advocate for going on the appropriate like psych meds when it's necessary. I've been on lithium for years now, and I literally feel like it saved my life. But at the time, in a way, even though I should have went on medication, in a way, I'm glad I didn't, because when I had my son, for one, my son didn't sleep in general as well. My son's autistic, but at the time he was a newborn, so I'm not really sure if that's why he didn't sleep. However, he had a lot of medical issues, so it was rough. It was really rough. There was not a lot of sleep, and I remember telling people at the time, like joking, like, it's good that I'm an insomniac, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to handle this. Like, and in a way, that was true. Of course, I'm sure, like, in a lot of ways, it wasn't healthy to be unmedicated, but I was able to stay up through the night with him, and I don't think I would have been able to otherwise. There's this movie called Bipolar Bear. It's a corny name, but I feel like it has such an accurate representation of bipolar, especially as a parent. There's one scene where he stays up very late and he just like sews his daughter this beautiful dress for this dance or play she's in, and she loves it. And I felt like that really depicted bipolar, being a parent really well, because there are times like that. Although there's times where bipolar has really been such a burden on my life, and obviously it's never healthy to be manic and to be up all night and things like that. However, there are times where I have been able to go above and beyond as a parent because of my bipolar, and that includes like when my son was young and he just never slept. I ended up starting lithium treatment after my last major manic episode. I get nervous talking about it as a parent, but I think it's important to talk about. Fortunately, at the time, this did not impact my parenting skills, and I also have, like I said, a really good support system, so I'm very fortunate in that area. However, right before my transition is when I went through my last really pretty major manic episode. I got myself in so much debt that I had to hire a lawyer. It was going to take me 20 years to get out of debt. I got sued. It was just a mess. It was an absolute mess. And that's when they re-diagnosed me with bipolar. At first, I was put on antipsychotics. I've been on a lot of antipsychotics. They never really worked for me. I was very hesitant to try lithium because I heard heard such horror stories about it, and I know it's a harsh drug. However, it has, I really do believe it saved my life. I mean, and I know they say like it takes a while to build up in your system and everything. I'm telling you, the first day, like the first or second day, I noticed a difference. I really truly did. It is a hassle. Like even though I'm on a low dose, I have to go and get blood work done and stuff pretty regularly. However, it's just been amazing for me, and I really hope that I do serve as some hope for others that have bipolar. That there is a future. Like I'm a great parent. Like I have been employed for the past I think 13 years, which is pretty remarkable. I even got an award from my mental health center, and this was like 7 years ago, and I'm still employed because I maintained employment throughout dealing with bipolar. So there is hope, and oh, I'm about to graduate with my bachelor's. This is my second to last semester, I believe. So yeah, there is hope, and I would say the biggest thing is just having a fantastic support system. I know medication isn't the answer for everybody, but I think a support system is for everyone. My husband knows like signs to look out for, symptoms to keep an eye out. If I were to get manic, he has open communication with my doctors and stuff, just in case that were to happen. So yeah, I just try to be as careful as possible, but I still lead a very functional life, and a very fulfilling life. So I hope you have a good day.